Hi, in this video we're going to cover a question that we hear a lot. How do I prospect without being pushy? Hi, I'm Matt Elwell of the Elite Closing Academy, and in this video we're going to cover how to prospect without being pushy. So many people ask us all the time when they come up to the training centre, how do I prospect and not come across as being pushy? And it is a great question, and I'll be honest, it actually has a very simple answer. Selling is about asking questions, not about telling. To be a great prospector, the first thing you've got to have is a lot of clarity and certainty around what it is that you actually do for people. When you're in service, when you're finding out what people need, that's when you can ask away with as much freedom as you want, really. And we want total freedom when we're selling. You don't want to be sort of in a box or cocooned or feeling like you got to be something you're not. Great sales is about being yourself. It's about asking amazing questions and deciding before making a written proposal whether or not you're a good match, and that's really important. So the way you avoid being pushy is to have certainty around what you do. That's the first thing, so that when you're asking, not telling, when you're asking, which is how you sell, you're prepared to go to places other salespeople won't go. And here's the reason why. If you're a salesperson that tells people and pushes, and you're a little bit classed as hard selling, you will nearly always have to use, as a teller, presumption and assumption, because you never actually find out. You don't ask what they're thinking. You presume to know or assume that you know what's going on inside, and that's a dangerous place to be. That's actually where rigor mortis lives. If you presume and assume, you're dead. You're dead in the water as a salesperson. So that's when it becomes a problem, where people are assuming and presuming and talking over you. That's where you start to feel they're being pushy and too persistent, and that's where you want to push them away, and you make excuses like, do you know what, I'm interested, but not right now. I'll ring you back tonight, or pop it on an email and we'll speak about it next week, or something like that. That's generally code for back off, leave me alone, it's not for me, here's another one, I'm busy, or I'm not interested. If you're hearing that, then you've got to look at yourself. How much telling were you doing? And critically, how many times did you ask questions? So to be a great prospector, you need 6 words in your life. That's all you need. And they're called 5 W's and 1 H. What, when, how, who, which, and where. When you ask questions that start with those 6 words before a written proposal, when you're selling, you will see an enormous difference in your results. By gathering helpful information, you and your team will be able to decide when to stop selling, make a written proposal, and then transition into closing the deal out. Prospecting is this side of the line: selling, asking, understanding. And those 6 words, what, when, how, who, which, and where, are the words that should begin each question that you ask. Here's the reason why. There's 3 aspects to a human being's brain. Ancient part of the brain, where yes and no lives. When you ask a question that doesn't start with one of those 6, you'll fire up an ancient part of the brain that has yes or no in it. And where yes or no lives, the conversation ends very quickly. Are you interested in having a look at what our products and services could do for you? Yeah, but I'm busy, pop it on an email. If you're hearing that, you're asking bad questions, and you need to ask one of those 6. They fire up logic and emotional aspects in the brain and allow the prospect to answer of their own accord with information that's helpful for you both to decide what should happen next or not at all. Let me give you a couple examples of really powerful questions. What have you seen in my product or service that, when implemented in your business, would accelerate a result or solve a problem? That's how you sell. That's how you sell before a written proposal, asking a powerful question like that. And you will find that with each one of those 6 words, and you should get a pen and paper out right now and say, how many times are we asking questions where the prospect has to actually go, great question, let me have a think about it? How many times do you actually do that? The best way to do it is to rate yourself out of 10. 10 being Every time you ask a question in the sales process, you're asking something that starts with a 5W or a H question. And one is you're constantly asking leading questions that bring no into play. Are you interested? Would you like to see how this works? If you're asking questions that bring no into play, you're a 1 out of 10. So where are you on the scale? Anything lower than an 8, strongly advise that you write what, when, how, who, which and where. Put it in front of your screen. You'd be amazed at the power it has on results, the impact it has on results. And here's the reason why. When your prospect is choosing, you're in control. That's how you sell. When you're asking powerful questions that they have to think about and answer of their own accord, that's when you're actually controlling the sale. And that's really, really, really important. So just remember, if you want to make a difference today, ask questions that start with 5 W's and a H. What, when, how, who, which and where. Stop speaking, listen to the answers, and then you can decide from the information given whether or not you believe that your product or service, whatever it is you sell, would get them an even better result, move them from A to B, solve a problem, and that's when you can stop selling and start closing. If you enjoyed that information about asking powerful questions and not being too pushy when you're prospecting, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and ping the notification bell so that you get all the free training and watch all of the other videos.